Journey's End is a powerful and poignant drama written by R.C. Sherriff, first performed in 1928 and published in 1929. Set in the trenches of northern France during the First World War, the play offers a harrowing yet deeply human portrait of the soldiers who faced the brutal reality of warfare on the Western Front. The play is set over 4 days in March 1918, just before the massive German offensive, later known as the Spring Offensive. It takes place entirely in a British dugout near St Quentin, capturing both the monotony and the terror of trench warfare. The action focuses on a small group of officers from Company C and their interactions as they await an imminent enemy attack. At the heart of the play is Captain Stanhope, a highly capable officer but a deeply troubled man, worn down by 3 years of war and reliant on alcohol to cope. His anxiety and vulnerability contrast sharply with the image of strength and leadership expected of him. The arrival of Second Lieutenant Raleigh, fresh from school and full of admiration for Stanhope, who had once been his hero, adds emotional tension. Raleigh is young, naive and idealistic, and he represents a new generation untouched by the full horror of war. Stanhope, embarrassed by how the war has changed him, is deeply conflicted about Raleigh's presence. He fears Raleigh will write home and reveal his decline to his sister, Stanhope's sweetheart. This emotional turmoil is layered on top of the constant dread of battle and death, creating a portrait of a man under immense psychological strain. Other key characters include Osborne, the kind and thoughtful second-in-command, affectionately known as Uncle by the men. He provides calm and wisdom and shares a poignant bond with Raleigh. There's also Trotter, a jovial and down-to-earth officer who masks his anxiety with humour and food, and Hibbert, a man suffering from shell shock who tries to escape the front line under the pretense of illness. Over the course of the play, the audience witnesses a series of events, the daily routines of trench life, a tense and dangerous raid to capture a German prisoner, and finally, the build-up to the German assault. The raid leads to Osborne's death, which profoundly affects Raleigh. In the final scene, as the long-awaited attack begins, Raleigh is mortally wounded. Stanhope, despite his emotional struggles, stays with him until the end. The play closes with the sounds of bombardment, the dugout collapsing, and the stage falling into darkness. One of the central themes of Journey's End is the psychological impact of war. Through characters like Stanhope and Hibbert, the play explores how extended exposure to danger, death, and uncertainty takes a heavy toll on mental health. The use of alcohol, denial, and humor as coping mechanisms reflects how these men attempt to survive emotionally as well as physically. The theme of heroism versus reality is also key. Raleigh enters the trenches full of ideals about glory and courage, but those ideas are gradually stripped away. Sherriff presents heroism not as grand gestures, but as the quiet endurance and comradeship that keep the men going day by day. Comradeship and isolation run throughout the play. Despite the horror, there is genuine warmth between the men, particularly in the friendship between Stanhope, Osborne and Raleigh. This contrasts with the emotional isolation some characters feel, especially Stanhope, whose burden of leadership keeps him distant even from those he cares about. Finally, the play critiques the futility and destruction of war. There are no great victories in Journey's End, only loss, waiting and inevitability. By focusing on a small group of ordinary men facing overwhelming odds, Sherriff humanizes the war and challenges romanticized portrayals of combat. First performed at the Apollo Theatre in London in December 1928, Journey's End was an immediate success, praised for its honesty, realism and emotional power. It remains one of the most significant First World War plays in British theatre, offering a timeless meditation on courage, fear and what it means to endure.